Following the Golden Rule with Andrew Faas is proudly supported by Remax St. Andrews. Live and vacation by the sea. Choose wisely. Choose Remax.
Hello, my name is Andrew Faas, and welcome to Following the Golden Rule.
And I'm your co-host, Jay Remer, and for 26 weeks, Andy and I will be exploring the ABCs of building character. We have completed 6 sessions so far, and we're looking forward to doing this 7th one on G is for Grateful. We welcome your comments and questions. You've been very generous with them so far on our Facebook page and our LinkedIn pages, and directly with us personally if you'd like. And so, Andy, how would you like to start off the conversation with grateful? What does grateful mean to you?
Well, why don't we just switch roles for a second? And that is, you are an expert on the characteristic of grateful. It's one of your 6 pillars of civility. So why don't you explain from what you have done over the last number of years,
Yes.
the characteristic.
Okay, well, gratitude is, as you said, one of the 6 pillars of civility. And I think that it's important because in today's culture, we take too much for granted. We live in an entitled world where we don't even pay attention to the clothes we have on our back sometimes, the fact that we have a full plate of food, we have a good education, a lot of things that people take for granted. And I don't think it's only people of privilege or who are educated or anything like that. I think no matter where you are in the socioeconomic ladder, so to speak, no one is grateful enough. And it's because, I think, that we live in a culture of fear. And oftentimes when people come to me and they say, I've got this problem, I've got that problem, I'm bored, I don't know what to do, I have no passion, I say, take some time and think about all the things that you can be grateful for, because we all have many blessings.
There are positives, as you point out. And by thinking about the positives, you can also find the reasons and methods to reduce the negatives.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, one of the things, a common question that people ask is, what do you regret? Do you have any regrets? And a number of years ago, somehow, I came to the conclusion that I have no regrets. I have things that I would maybe like to have seen done differently. I certainly didn't have a rosy childhood. And but the thing is that if I hadn't done and experienced every single thing that I have experienced to this moment, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about gratitude.
You know, when you talk about being grateful, and in today's environment, some of the basic things like where you live, grateful for. So today, sitting in beautiful St. Andrews in New Brunswick, perhaps the safest place in the world, I'm grateful for that. I'm even more grateful with no longer having a presence in the United States. What I'm grateful for is Canada and Canadians being in a better position to not fall off the cliff, the way America is falling off the cliff from being a free and democratic society. And I think there's still time for Canada, and Canada can be a example for the rest of the world on that. I'm also grateful for just being here,
Yes.
being alive,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to grow old without the kind of stress factors that so many people are going through.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't always that way. I was diagnosed 14 years ago with leukemia, and in essence given a life sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to a wonder drug called Gleevec, which is a forerunner to other drug therapies that directly targets the cancer cells
Mm-hmm.
without harming the healthy ones, made my condition go from being a fatal condition to a chronic one. So I ended up cutting a deal with the Almighty,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, in essence, if I am made better, I'll become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So I was made better, and I still continue to work on becoming that better person.
Mm-hmm.
The avenue I chose was to become a resistor.
Aha.
And so I pretty much dedicated my life at that time to helping organizations create psychologically safe, healthy, and fair and productive work environments.
Mm-hmm.
And it extended to much beyond that, in the whole area of adult bullying and protecting democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm grateful to have been given the opportunity to study it a lot more than I had previously, and two, to write extensively about it, and more importantly, help people work through the situations that they face in their daily lives, and in particular where people spend most of their waking hours.
Mm-hmm.
In the workplace.
Well, I think that it's, most everyone has some kind of an epiphany during their lives, if they're lucky, I guess, and they do realize that there is something greater than themselves that is calling the shots. And I find that is, for myself, I find that to be very comforting. And I'm very grateful that I can rely on that greater power. Now, there are religions all over the world, which is basically what that kind of boils down to, is the belief of something greater. And I think that if people actually take the time to do the self-reflection that you just said that you did, like you cut a deal and you reflected and thought, what actually matters the most to me? I think it's sort of the point of the whole series that we're doing here is we want people to self-reflect on things that matter to them, and how do these various principles measure up in their lives. I just want to go back, though, to a point that I made earlier about having no regrets, because I don't want to come off as sounding like everything I've done is forgivable or wonderful or whatever. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. And as humans, we need to recognize those and act appropriately. We need to make amends through being held accountable in one way or another. Even then, if I've made a grievous mistake, like if I've hurt someone, the process of healing is something to be grateful for, because we all make mistakes. It's a human thing.
Sure.
So even if we've purposely hurt someone, going through the healing of that is a very human thing. It requires a lot of compassion from a lot of people on a lot of levels, because there's a lot of suffering involved, not just my suffering, but anyone who I've affected. And I think that being grateful for that process is important. And I think that we don't take the time to even give ourselves permission to find gratitude in our mistakes. And I think that that's an aspect of gratitude that we could spend, if we spent more time, we'd have a more compassionate world. Certainly it implies self-compassion, which is probably the number one missing component in society today. So I think that gratitude really is an umbrella that covers quite a lot of feelings and actions.
Well, it's like a lot of characteristics that we're going to be talking about, and it will be and should be interpreted differently by everybody, because everybody is unique in terms of their personality. But it's one that people should look at, not in a theoretical sense or academic sense, but look at it in terms of just understanding the regrets, like what could I have done differently, and learning from that. But also just saying, that like my situation, I'm in a better situation than so many other people. Mm-hmm. And the importance of recognizing that is doing something about it.
Yeah.
Because we're all interdependent. Mm-hmm. And we all form relationships, and the relationships are based on a value exchange proposition that is what we're talking about, following the golden rule. Mm-hmm. But being grateful for the ability to be able to help somebody. Mm-hmm. And I guess when I look at my regrets, is biggest regret is taking so long for me to recognize that I was in a better position than most to help others. Mm-hmm. And I've lived a charmed and successful life. But the most important thing is my ability to assist others. Mm-hmm. And I think this is where we need to register this with everybody. Mm-hmm. Because again, we have no idea what people are going through right now, and we certainly have no idea what people are going to go through in the next period of time. Mm-hmm. And it depends on people. Society is dependent on people helping each other with the right intent. Mm-hmm. And another regret I have is not being as provocative and disruptive and as outraged as what I feel today. Mm-hmm. And or what I do today, and in doing that, I've lost a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. Because people are not able to accept, are not conditioned to accept criticism. Mm-hmm. What's helped me a lot through life is constructive criticism. Mm-hmm. And I got to be honest to say that I wasn't always grateful for it, because as I indicated in a previous episode, that nobody likes bad news. Right. But people need to hear what they need to hear, yeah. Particularly if you're in a leadership position. Mm-hmm. And but also people need to be able to receive it. Mm-hmm. And listen to it. situations ahead of us where people are going to be called on to be more than just bystanders to what's going on.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for those who have some in more delicate terms, but given me feedback that's enabled me to be similarly critical of others when I see them off track or needing some pretty hard advice.
Yeah. Well, delivering hard advice is not easy, and when you're in a position of authority or responsibility, going back to E is for emotionally intelligent, that's the how you deliver it is going to determine whether you're doing it emotionally or whether you're doing it from an emotionally intelligent perspective. I just noticed this morning when I was reading, I get a Reader's Digest thing that comes in every morning, and it's usually filled with a lot of really basic stuff, how to do your laundry and such. This was 7 things to do when you first get up in the morning to make your day better. So I read through them, and it had making coffee and doing all these things. The 4th one was spend some time in gratitude. And it just meant take some time out and think about all the things that you can be grateful for. It starts your day off on a very positive note. And I think to your point of, this doesn't need to be a philosophical or clinical kind of look at gratitude. Gratitude is something that we should practice every day throughout our lives. And if we can make a routine of it, some of it just comes naturally, some of it doesn't come at all. But if we can begin to just give ourselves permission to take a few moments to be grateful every day. It's kind of like saying your prayers before you go to bed at night for people who do that. It's a healthy, psychologically healthy routine. So my question, Andy, is with your experience in organizations, did you find that conveying gratitude was a helpful tool in establishing psychologically healthy workplaces?
Well, it certainly is a major component to it, and in terms of consciously saying, well, I'm going to motivate people by expressing my gratitude. In a lot of organizational cultures, it's ingrained in people to be give positive feedback, and a lot of it's disingenuous, and people just go through the motions by overly complimenting someone, versus and I guess I fall in this category. Whenever I give somebody a compliment, I use it sparingly, because I really want it to mean something.
Yes.
To both me and the person getting it.
That's right.
And I'm not a pacifier in terms of just making people feel good.
Right.
It's more important for me to be constructive about, whether it's giving positive feedback as well as negative feedback. But I need people to understand what the intent is.
Yes.
So and I think that's what people have to, in terms of assisting someone. If their intent is to have you're helping someone because you're grateful because of others who have helped you. That becomes a very genuine intent.
Yes. I know in when we were talking about compassion, which we have talked about, one of the things, of course, compassion is always attached to suffering of some kind. And so a lot of times when we can alleviate people's suffering, we forget to be grateful for that. And there's actually a term for it called compassion satisfaction. And it is a motivator for being compassionate. And it's a good motivator. And likewise, in being grateful, the motivation for helping others is, the intent of that is very important, because we help others because we want to help them, because they need our help and we can provide it. But also, we get a certain amount of satisfaction from being able to help other people. And I think it's important to remind ourselves, are we being grateful because somebody's done something nice to me, or I've done something good for myself, I've gotten a job so that I can put food on the table and raise a healthy family? Or am I grateful because I've been able to do that for somebody else? You know, I think it's a flip side kind of a thing.
Well, certainly, and I may not come across as being a compassionate guy, and the reason I'm not is, or I don't come across that way, is I don't wear compassion on my sleeve. And as I indicated in a couple of previous other sessions, people misinterpret empathy and compassion to pitying or feeling sorry for somebody.
That's right.
And that is not what people need. People need to be given support and advice, and that can be represented in many forms. But if I look at it on the basis of, again, people have helped me. And yes, it may have been out of compassion and empathy, but it was, again, the hard truths being told to me. The best example I can give on that is early in my career. A guy by the name of Bob McCutcheon, who was the executive vice president of Loblaws at the time, called me, and Bob was he was, I think, 6'2", 190 pounds, a pretty strong presence. Everybody called him Uncle Bob, and he's just a very good mentor. But he called me into his office one day and relayed a problem he had. He said, I've got a young manager and he's doing this, he's doing that, and he used every word but a bully in describing the behavior and actions of this young manager he's got a problem with. And he said, I'm totally perplexed as to what to do. And my reaction was, well, Bob, you know, like, if it were me, I'd fire the son of a bitch. So he pulls out his pipe, and I allowed smoking back then, and stokes his pipe, and takes a drag of it, and said, well, son, you're the son of a bitch I'm talking about. My only reaction to that was, oh. Now, thankfully, he did not follow my advice. He, in essence, told me what I needed to hear.
That's right.
And that's left a real impression. And so again, you look at examples, get people to look at examples like that.
Yes.
Because everybody's had that.
That's right.
And how that's left a mark.
Yeah. Well, it's very important. I think that the idea that we have here on this series is for people to actually take the time to do the self-reflection. And through that self-reflection, you will begin to understand intent and the difference between compassion and pity, and gratitude and just compliment. And because there's something more visceral to it that really we feel. And so I think that that is the essence of what we're trying to do here, and so I think that story certainly exemplifies a time when you look back and are grateful. So thank you for that story, and thank you for letting us into your living room this evening. And please take the time to leave your questions and comments on our Facebook page and LinkedIn page. If you've missed any of the previous episodes in the series, they can be found on our LinkedIn pages and on YouTube. We look forward to seeing you again next week when we talk about H is for humble.
Following the Golden Rule with Andrew Faas is proudly supported by Remax St. Andrews. Live and vacation by the sea. Choose wisely. Choose Remax.